Fast food chains are successful in France because they're compatible with the modern lifestyle.
The biggest advantage is that it doesn't spill everywhere, so you don't make a mess.
Currently, 60% of burgers eaten in France are consumed in ordinary restaurants.
Classique. Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus. Now, when you think of France, you tend to think of haute cuisine, and there's no shortage of chic restaurants around here. But if you think it's fine dining every day, then think again, because fast food here is as much a part of daily life as it is anywhere else in the world, especially amongst younger generations. Well, we're going to start by taking a look at a few numbers.
When it comes to the fast food market in France, you have to think big, very big. Starting with the number of businesses. There are 32,000 across the country, serving burgers, pizzas and other fast food staples. Paris alone has nearly 400 fast food joints. Whether it's eat-in or take-away, fast food is a guilty pleasure for many in the land of gastronomy. The American import is especially popular among 15 to 24-year-olds. Fast food joints made 48 billion euros in sales revenue in 2018, compared to a 34 billion turnover for traditional restaurants. More and more French people are opting to eat quickly and cheaply. On average, the French spent 31 minutes eating and paid 9 euros per meal in 2018. And it's a growing demand. 1 billion fast food meals are made in France every year. The most popular dish? Burgers. With an average of 22 burgers consumed per person every year, France comes just behind the United States.
Did you know that McDonald's makes more money in France than it does anywhere else in Europe? And here's another little fact for you. The McDonald's on the Champs-Élysées is its most profitable outlet in the whole world. This is a country that loves a good hamburger. And after the United States, France is the second biggest consumer of burgers on the planet. Well, let's take a closer look now at the history of this iconic sandwich and how France's love affair with the burger first began.
It's on 85% of restaurant menus. The hamburger is now everywhere in France.
It's usually not too expensive and I like the taste. It also seems semi-balanced because you get salad with cheese, meat and bread. So it's a full meal and it's quick to eat.
The burger has overtaken the humble ham and butter baguette as French people's favourite fast food. But it took a little while to get there. Jacques Borel opened the very first fast food restaurant in 1961 in the heart of Paris, a franchise of the American chain Wimpy. The recipe proved popular, but the restaurants were forced to close because of a dispute between Borel and the parent company. 11 years later, another Frenchman tried his luck. Raymond Daillon opened the first franchise of the American giant McDonald's in the Paris region. For the French, eating with their fingers, sometimes even standing up, seemed like heresy. But after a difficult start, the restaurant began to taste success, growing to 15 franchises. McDonald's then launched a legal battle to buy back the franchise restaurants, a battle it eventually won. Other fast food chains soon followed. After that, the burger's poor quality reputation didn't hold it back from becoming one of the most consumed foods in France.
It started to be associated with junk food in the 1980s and the 1990s. We're an ambiguous country in this regard. We like the nostalgic side to it, the regressing, having fun with food, eating with our hands.
But the burger's image gradually started changing, with French chefs finally paying attention to it. In 2012, the first gourmet burger joint, Big Fernand, opened in Paris. All the ingredients, from the meat to the bread and fries, are homemade and 100% French.
It's more expensive, but the quality is good.
It's a bandwagon that many restaurants have since jumped on, competing with ever more inventive recipes to tap into current trends.
Well, to find out more about France's fast food phenomenon, I'm joined now by food historian Loïc Bienassis. Thank you very much for speaking to us. There are some quite surprising statistics that show just how successful fast food outlets are in France. Why do you think that is?
Je crois qu'il y a un malentendu en fait.
I think there is a misconception. We always imagine the French as gourmets. Obviously, in France, there is a very strong gastronomic and culinary tradition. But just like other European countries, France quickly switched to a modern way of consuming food, although in a different time frame and in its own way. What I mean is the French had to adapt their dietary patterns to the modern lifestyle, mainly urban, less time to prepare meals, working women, urban mobility that kept people away from their homes, that sort of thing. And the French adapted to that change pretty early on, in fact. So fast food is a part of that long-term trend, and it's linked to a change in the French lifestyle.
Who do you think the fast food chains are targeting? What's the sort of typical profile of a fast food consumer?
For a long time, the goal was to bring in families. The success of McDonald's in the US was down to families, more so than young people. So the chain wanted to make these places family-friendly. McDonald's and others tried to apply that business model here in France, believing this was the key demographic with purchasing power. But in the end, it's young people that really made McDonald's a success here in France. And that's true for all fast food chains, really. So it seems there was a gap between the target demographic and what actually made it success. Nowadays, I think it still appeals to a young crowd, but there are families too. Simply because some of the young people who grew up with fast food now have a family, and it's become part of their eating habits.
Do you see the growth in this sector carrying on indefinitely?
For now, it's growing, that's for sure. It's certainly growing. McDonald's opens about 30 restaurants a year in France. Burger King is back and has growth prospects, so really it's expanding. But for how long, that's harder to say. Currently, there is such a wide range of fast food options on offer, so there probably are growth prospects. For those who are not interested in traditional fast food, there are options that can meet their demands and aspirations, such as fast food using local products, or vegetarian and vegan fast food. So while it might seem the market is a little saturated, there are clearly still pockets of growth, for a few more years at least, I think.
And do you think perhaps environmental awareness amongst consumers could perhaps put the brakes on the fast food sector's growth? Because let's face it, all that thrown away plastic and paper isn't great for the planet, is it?
The big fast food chains have managed to set up a recycling system in Germany and in Northern Europe. So it is feasible, no doubt about it. Here in France, we're lagging behind, but that's because fast food chains don't respect the regulations. They say they're committed to making that change. We'll see if they actually do, but I think it's a question of public image. They really don't have a choice to put their money where their mouth is, because they keep talking about environmental awareness. It would be really surprising if they were to operate under a shadow and allow something like this to tarnish their reputation.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Food historian Loïc Bienassis, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, as we've been saying, it's not just the big international fast food brands that are making waves here. France has a growing number of fast food chains of its own. This country also has a fast food variety of its own. They call it tacos, but I think it's fair to say it would be completely unrecognizable to anybody in Mexico.
The French taco was born here in Lyon, the food capital of France. The recipe is simple: a flour tortilla, diced or minced meat, a generous amount of fries, and to top it all off, a white creamy cheese sauce. The result, a hefty sandwich that contains over 1,000 calories.
The biggest advantage is that it doesn't spill everywhere, so you don't make a mess.
French tacos are not only easy to eat, they also come with a wide variety of fillings, allowing customers to make their own. For restaurants, tacos are highly profitable. They're cheap and easy to make.
Taco costs €1.30. 60% of the total cost comes from the meat and the cheese, and then there's all the other ingredients, the fries, the tortilla wrap. €5 on average. We make a big profit, but that's because we have to work fast, and as a result we have a lot of employees. Our workforce costs us more money than the tacos themselves.
Taco chains keep costs at a bare minimum by purchasing the cheapest ingredients. This wholesale retailer supplies hundreds of restaurants.
This is one of the main ingredients, tortillas.
French tacos are rarely homemade. They're a combination of heavily processed ingredients, many of which are imported.
This is one of our best-selling products. It's chicken in a crispy breadcrumb coating. It doesn't say. I'm not sure.
On closer inspection, it turns out the chicken comes from Thailand. The diced beef, meanwhile, is produced in Poland, and the tortillas are made in Belgium. Even the cheese used to make the signature white sauce is from Germany. It seems that the only thing French in French tacos is the name.
If you use French ingredients, they'd be much more expensive, which means the tacos would in turn be more expensive, and you would stop being competitive.
Most competition comes from kebabs, another fast food favorite in France. But taco chains like Haute are growing quickly. It opened 80 restaurants just last year and has expanded internationally to countries including Belgium and Morocco.
Well, that's all we have time for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon here on France 24.